Because I've done this before. There's no way I would have left Ryan by herself at that age.
Exactly.
That's our point.
I know.
You just proved it.
Soundstripe.
Welcome in to another episode of Blockbusters, a classic movie podcast where if you're like us and you miss the days of packed movie theaters and movie stores, then this is the podcast for you. I'm your host, Caleb Suggs. Joining me are my co-host, Dakota Lowry.
What's up, everybody?
From his new house, by the way.
Yes.
Absolutely, in my new house.
How's it feel to be a homeowner?
There's a lot of debt, and I've spent way too much money.
Yeah,
That sounds about right.
pretty much nailed it. And also joining us from his also house, Ernie Ferguson. He's had a house for a while, though.
Well, this may be very fitting then. E.T. phone home.
You've had a home now, what, 60 years, something like that?
60 years, yes. I'm 51 and I've had a house for 60 years. Now, I've had this house that I'm in since 2005.
There you go.
I bet the housing market was a lot better back then.
That's what.
No.
It's not necessarily that it was better, but it was a lot easier to get a mortgage.
No, the interest rates were higher back then than they are now. It was
but like pre-2008 though. They were just handing out mortgages to anybody who could fog up a mirror.
well, yeah, but again, interest rates were higher. So just because that's why they got in trouble because they handed out loans to anybody and everybody. But again, they have these interest rates at ridiculously high. That's why refinanced when it went way down. But the good thing about living in the same place for 20 years, that bad boy is paid for, and I ain't got to worry about it.
What a dream!
It is nice.
What a dream!
And to get back to the movie side of things, we're doing E.T. this week. Ernie picked this. I have a feeling this is a special movie for him. Because you would have been about, what, 8 when this came out?
Yes.
So, yeah, did you see it in theaters?
I did see it in theaters, but I it's also one of those ones where it was on high rewind on the rental scene too at our house. But it had been, man, I can't remember the last time I've seen it though. So that was a big deal there too.
I watched it once when I was a kid. I remember watching it, but I once literally.
Yeah, I think I was the same way. Where I've only seen it maybe once. I think we had it on VHS or something.
Well, the one thing about it at that time when it came out, it was such a cultural push. Like I can remember, and I still can't find it today, where on the radio they had different clips of E.T. It was an interview with E.T., but then like they would interject songs, like they'd ask E.T. questions, and all of a sudden his answer would be like "Abracadabra" by the Steve Miller Band, things like that. So it was just really weird. And I wish I could find that again, but like the dolls that they sold, it was a merch dream. Which again, I don't think the expectations were very high from Spielberg, but it made bank roll for sure. Whenever Caleb will talk about the money situation.
Has there ever been a movie released this as pure as this movie?
I mean, especially at this time period. I mean, during this time period, it's all about gratuitous violence, gratuitous nudity, just all that kind of stuff. But it can't be as pure without the kids acting the way they did. The kids were great. I mean, I don't know of a better cast of teenagers or kids that performed as well as they did.
Yeah, Henry Thomas kind of knocked this role out of the park. I thought it wasn't necessarily the him acting like a kid in a lot of the scenes. It was more the like when you get closer to the end of the film where he's laying like on the bed in the medical bed, and he's playing a kid who's like nearing death, and then he just the way that he interacts with ET, that scene more impressed me in his acting skills than really anything else.
Well, he had to make you believe in this bond with this little alien creature that he had, almost to the point to where you were Elliot, and he does a masterful job with that. I mean, you feel every emotion, all the highs and lows throughout the movie, all the funny parts, every single little emotion that they have, you feel it all the way throughout the movie. And as Ernie says, as you said, it's done masterfully by the guy who played Elliot mostly, but also the other supporting cast as well.
Drew Barrymore, I didn't look at what her age is, but when she put the waterworks on, it was heartbreaking. When they were brought out the AED, the paddles for ET, and she's sitting in there watching it, and she's crying. That
She was
broke my
7
heart.
at this.
7 years old. That broke my heart watching her reaction to that. But
Actually, I thought
there's
she was a
also
little younger.
it's also a masterful job of Spielberg of shooting this movie in chronological order. So he was able to, you know, allow the kids to start to build their relationship with this. Yes, it's a robotic animal, or I mean, robotic alien or whatever, but they still start building the relationship. So that way you get more of that emotion at the end because they've bonded with the ET character.
Have you guys ever been to Universal Studios? I don't think Dakota has. I don't know about you, Ernie.
I have not experienced this ride. No.
Yeah, the ET ride at Universal Studios. That I think it's still there at the one in Florida. I don't think it's still there at any of the other Universal parks, but the one in Florida, I think it's still there. That ride is so great. I mean, I can still vividly remember going on that ride because they make everything. It was made in 1990, so it's not like everything today where it's all 3D. So everything's like real and to scale and everything. And you walk in and it's like the forest, and it hits you with that uh, the smell of like the forest, and then the ride just
Mm.
takes you through the movie. I just wanted to bring that up. One of my, even though it was like an old ride compared to what you get nowadays, it's still one of my favorite rides from that park. But E.T., the Extra-Terrestrial, or simply E.T., is a 1982 American science fiction film produced and directed by Steven Spielberg and written by Melissa Matheson. It tells the story of Elliot, a boy who befriends an extraterrestrial he names E.T., who has been stranded on Earth. Along with his friends and family, Elliot must find a way to help E.T. find his way home. The film stars Dee Wallace, Henry Thomas, Peter Coyote, Robert McNaughton, and Drew Barrymore. The film's concept was based on an imaginary friend that Spielberg created after his parents' divorce. In 1980, Spielberg met Matheson and developed a new story from the unrealized project Night Skies. In less than 2 months, Matheson wrote the first draft of the script titled E.T. and Me, which went through 2 rewrites. The project was rejected by Columbia Pictures, who doubted its commercial potential. Universal Pictures eventually purchased the script for $1 million. Filming took place from September to December 1981 on a budget of $10.5 million. Unlike most films, E.T. was shot in rough chronological order to facilitate convincing emotional performances from the young cast. The animatronics of the film were designed by Carlo Rambaldi. E.T. premiered at the closing film of the Cannes Film Festival on May 26, 1982, and was released in the United States on June 11th. The film was a smash hit at the box office, surpassing Star Wars to become the highest-grossing film of all time, a record it held for 11 years until Spielberg's own Jurassic Park surpassed it in 1993. E.T. would receive universal acclaim from critics and is regarded as one of the greatest and most influential films ever made. It received 9 nominations at the 55th Academy Awards, winning Best Original Score, Best Visual Effects, Best Sound, and Best Sound Editing, in addition to being nominated for Best Picture and Best Director. It also won 5 Saturn Awards, 2 Golden Globe Awards. The film was released in 1985 and again in 2002 to celebrate its 20th anniversary with altered shots. It was also re-released in IMAX. It grossed $797.3 million on just that budget of $10.3 million, which is mind-boggling. And it has a whopping 99% on Rotten Tomatoes with a popcorn score of actually only 72%.
That's the heartless people.
I tell you one thing I am really glad of, especially in today's movie cinema world, with all these movies that are being released on streaming services and stuff like that, is the fact that they're remastering them. Because visually, this movie was pretty,
Mm.
in my opinion. Just watching this, and I'm sitting here thinking, this movie was from 1982, but knowing that they, remastered it and re-released it and things like that, I was very happy with that. And even I think if a movie like this was released today, it probably still has a good shot at making, like winning Best Picture or stuff like that.
That's the crazy part, that Spielberg didn't win for best director, and it didn't win for best movie. Both of them went to Gandhi, and I'm just like, I mean, Gandhi's a good bio flick, but this to me, it's unbelievable that it didn't get the nod for this. But you talk about the visually appealing. Even, I mean, the animatronics of ET, the facial features, the facial expressions that come off ET, I loved it again, and that's the I guess that's he and the George Lucas thing, where they build into these animatronics, and it works well, just like Jurassic Park with Spielberg worked well, But then when both of them start to lean heavy on CGI, it loses some of its appeal. But even the cut and paste scenes, like from the bicycle scenes, yes, you can tell it's 1982, but it still works, and it still looks as good as it can for a 1982 movie, and it doesn't take away from the movie, I don't think.
It looks great for not just a 1982 movie, but a 1982 movie that was made on $10.5 million.
Mm.
That's not a huge budget, especially for a director who at this point had made Jaws and had made Indiana Jones. Right, 2 years after Indiana Jones.
Yeah, and he was making
Yeah.
Poltergeist. He was doing executive producing Poltergeist at the same time. So
I
I mean,
love E.T.
when you have kids as their actors, you can pay them dirt cheap.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
yeah.
you don't have to pay as much.
I love E.T., not like the actual E.T., just the way he looks. He makes me laugh all the time. Just as a kid, I mean, if you were watching it, or even as an adult, you're like, I want an E.T.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
when he's getting drunk and everything like that, you just kind of watch him, and just
That
it's fun.
scene kills me. When the kid turns and looks at that girl with that face, it makes me laugh.
I have seen that look at parties I've been to college from a lot of different dudes, and it was probably about as successful, as it was for him at that moment in time.
Yeah, it's an interesting stylistic choice by Spielberg. You get because you go all the way back to Jaws. You don't see the shark very much throughout the movie, especially not till the end. And of course, that was a little bit by luck because the shark didn't look well. So that's he was kind of forced to make that decision. But here, you kind of just see a little glimpses of ET throughout it. Even when they're at the house, you just kind of see him bobbing around the kitchen or whatever it is, and it kind of almost works in a similar way that Jaws did.
Yeah, because even when you get the full body effect early on, it's usually backlit or he's in the shadows, so you don't get a full really aspect of the body, And so yeah, it does a good job. I mean, especially when the hands come up and the long, long fingers, you're just like, okay, that's weird looking. At first, again, as a kid, you're like, okay, what is this thing, but then of course, then everybody and their grandmother ends up loving him. But it's just like that's just weird looking.
Ouch!
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ouch! Well, a race of
Diminutive.
aliens visit Earth at night to gather plant specimens in a California forest. One of them, fascinated by the distant lights of a neighborhood, separates from the group before U.S. government agents arrive and chase the startled creature. The aliens are forced to depart before the agents can find them, leaving their lone member behind. So, as Dakota mentioned already, the film opens up and it's just kind of breathtaking with the scenery and the forest. I mean, it's just a simple forest, but it's very visually appealing. And you also get the whole thing where you don't, other than the mom, you don't see the face of adults in this until like the third act of the movie. I don't think.
Yeah, because you don't see the teacher, you don't see Keys. It's just mom, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
But then that goes back to this is a story about Steven Spielberg. About his not fantasy friend, but his imaginary friend, and also about very personal going through his parents' divorce. So again, and it goes back to kind of the camera angles too. A lot of most of the camera angles are from kids' height. It doesn't the camera doesn't shoot down; the camera shoots up. So again, it's another. Again, it's almost like Steven Spielberg knows what he's doing with a camera.
I mean, it's supposed to give you the feel of being the kids. I mean, it's done on purpose, so you get that of like I'm one of the kids here in this movie,
which is brilliant because I think if you take it away from, if you show more, and again, that's part of the love of the movie is the innocence, as you said at the very beginning. The more you introduce parents or adults, I think that takes a lot more of the innocence away, and I think that's again, it was a brilliant move to just keep the story hinged around the kids, and even for the most part, there's not a bad guy in the movie. Even the government that's chasing they weren't. They were trying to save ET. They weren't trying to do anything. I mean, yes, they were concerned, but it wasn't like Keys could have been a bad dude. The older brother could have been a bad dude. All the government people could have been bad dudes, but they really weren't any true bad guys in this movie.
Yeah, that was one of the things that I liked was that it wasn't a lot of times when you have these alien movies or whatever that like the government usually views them as like an outside threat to the whatever, and they're usually coming in trying to arrest it and take it away, but they didn't really do that, and I really appreciated the fact that they didn't, like you said, they were trying to save him, and trying to, take care of him,
Yeah.
Did either of you think that the oldest brother looked like Jesse Eisenberg in this movie?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, now that you say that, I can see that.
Keep having a. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Nah, go ahead. Man. Well, one of the things that I kind of noticed was, didn't this entire cast kind of look like the cast of Stranger Things?
Oh,
all the characters of
Stranger Things ripped this movie off big time.
Yes.
Okay.
Especially the first season of Stranger Things.
Yeah, I've never watched Stranger Things, and I need to go watch it. But that was one of the things that I noticed was I was like, the girl looks kind of familiar, and they're playing D&D at the beginning of the movie. And
yes.
The first season of Stranger Things rips it off, and then here we are, fifth season, and they're the kids that were 11 3 years ago are now 27. I mean, it's bad.
Yeah, that's again. This has a lot of cultural aspects to it. A lot of people have kind of taken these ideas and kind of run with it. But the other thing that I really kind of like about this movie in particular, which y'all again, I think we've talked about it before, probably with the Goonies, was just riding your bikes from place to place, and being home before it gets dark, or the parents mom leaving Drew Barrymore at home, as she went to go to the school to go get Elliot, because he was drunk. Parents won't do that now. Today, you'll probably get arrested for neglect or something or child abuse.
Why not just take Drew Barrymore with her? That made no sense. I mean, just bring the kid with you. So, I mean, there's a little bit understandable.
It wasn't a big deal to leave him behind like that.
No, I get that, but I mean, she's 6-7 years old. Why? I mean, why would you just take him to begin with?
Because a 6 and 7 year old, if she got bad news like that, the last thing she wants to have to deal with is try to round up her daughter and try to get her in the car, listen to the daughter talk and yammer while she's having to worry about what her son being intoxicated at school.
I think leaving Elliot by himself alone at home was probably a little bit more believable than leaving Gertie. Yeah,
I thought the same thing when she left off. She's like, Gertie, you just...
Oh, you little children.
I don't know. A 6-year-old's one thing.
You
A
don't you
10-year-old.
don't know what
just
it's like to
because-
live in the 80s.
Just because they did it back then doesn't mean it was right.
Yeah.
That they should have done it. We can
Doesn't
look
mean
back
it's
on
wrong.
it and be
Doesn't mean
like,
it's wrong either.
Well, we gotta look
All
on
I'm
it and
saying
be.
is I would trust a 10-year-old by themselves for like 30 minutes while I ran to the school, more so than I would my 5-year-old niece.
Well, we said 7 or 8 years old is what she was. There is a big difference between
She-
a
Okay,
5-year-old.
just because she is 7 or 8 does not mean she's
Yeah,
portraying a
I
7 or
would.
8-year-old.
I would have thought she was more 5 or 6 because she's
Yeah.
not in school, is she?
No, she's not. So she's got to
I
be playing
thought
like a
she-
4-year-old.
I don't know. I thought she picked her up from school or something like that. Because wasn't she waiting for the bus too when Elliot was out there with his bike?
Well, she's at home though when she gets the call about going to get him, and he's at school.
Well, they had
drunk.
just come from the grocery store, so
Yeah, but she still was in a school though.
yeah.
Look,
Whatever.
I'm just
but
saying. Look, I'm not trying to down the '80s. I think I would have lived very perfectly fine in the '80s. I've always said
Yeah.
that. But just because some things were done back there doesn't mean it was. We can't look back and be like that was kind of stupid.
apron strings. Y'all gotta learn how to cut the apron strings.
No, I'm just saying, if it was my 5-year-old niece,
Maybe
I'm
you
not
should
leaving her at
spend
home
more
by
time
herself.
watching your children.
Because I've done this before. There's no way I would have left Ryan by herself at that age.
Exactly.
That's our point.
I know.
You just proved it.
Yeah, I mean, both of y'all can see my face when I'm saying these comments, right? I'm sitting there laughing as I'm saying this. But but again, it was. I didn't necessarily say it's right, but it's also believable. But again, also
there probably absolutely was some parents who did it in the 80s.
I'm sure there was some parents who did worse.
I'm sure there's parents who do it today.
Why don't you go just while I sleep one off because I'm drunk or hungover or something.
Yeah.
that still happens.
Absolutely happens.
Well, while the agents search the forest, the creature takes shelter in a shed belonging to the family of 10-year-old Elliot Taylor. Initially scared by the creature who runs away, Elliot spends the following day leaving a trail of Reese's Pieces to lure the alien back to the Taylor's home, where he hides the creature in his room.
Oh, before we get to this next scene, I absolutely didn't think that those were the agents who were chasing after the alien in the first scene. I definitely thought that was just a bunch of rednecks who was like, I saw something off in the woods and I'm chasing after them.
Yeah, I thought they were hunters, trying to do some spotlighting.
I'm sitting there thinking, this looks like one of my ex-uncles chasing Bigfoot off in Bankhead Forest. I didn't think they were government agents.
I guess we're supposed to believe that because, the spaceship was there, so they were, tracking the spaceship, I guess.
Yeah. I
I
like a couple
guess.
parts of kind of the scene. Well, first of all, whenever you get to see the ET's chest light up and you see how fast his heart's beating, I thought that was really interesting. And then also the scene of the city as he looks down, I was like, man, that looks like a Pac-Man course right there. When he was up there up above in the forest and looking down upon the city or the town, I was like, that looks exactly like Pac-Man, But it's good to see how they kind of delayed that the interaction with E.T. and Elliot, and how you had that his fear of what was going out there, and then of course nobody believing him at all because he screwed up the pizza, and that made everybody mad.
Did he just drop the box, or did he drop
I think he got scared.
on the ground? Was the pizza on, or did he just drop the box?
No, I
I
think
thought
he
he just dropped the. I thought he just dropped the box, and the pizza was a little jumbled up. And I'm like, okay, I'm still eating that.
Yeah, I thought he fell on it.
My fat butt's like, yeah, I don't know why y'all just leaving it there. I'm 100% eating that.
I'm licking the cheese off the top. What are you talking about?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I thought he dropped it and then went in there and was scared by it and then turned around and tripped over and fell on it or something.
They're in the shed and they're like, looks like those coyotes are back. And I'm like, what kind of demon coyotes do y'all have? Well, I don't know what part of the United States this is. I'm sure
it's supposed to be Los Angeles because that's what I was looking up. Yeah.
Well, he was pointing at the almost at the Nevada-California border though. So I don't know if it's supposed to be the valley or what. So
it's I think the house or the actual neighborhood. I literally just closed this tab. Uh, let's see here. According to this, it says that it's set in the San Fernando Valley area of
Yeah.
Los Angeles. So,
Well, anyways, those tracks had like 3 toes that like stuck out. It does not look like a coyote paw.
it's a
Well,
chupacabra.
as somebody that's a city boy, you could probably tell me, "Oi, them look like coyote tracks." I'd go, "Okay, that's fine," and I wouldn't know a difference. I'd say,
Yeah,
"Roll Tide,
no.
let's go, son." Woo!
No, I've seen plenty of them in my life.
I'm talking about me. I'm the city boy. I'm the boy that was raised around concrete my entire life. I wouldn't know the difference.
Yeah, but I mean, a coyote print looks just like a dog print. Essentially, it's just a little bit smaller.
The only thing I know
Unless you
about a
get the bigger
coyote
ones.
is that he can't catch the roadrunner. That's the only thing that I know.
Hey, you say that you don't see them in cities, but Decatur, Alabama, is overrun with them. They're all over the place. I mean, you'll hear them all the time. So them
Yes,
being in a city is not that far fetched.
because I'm comparing Decatur to Houston, Texas. That's what I
I'm
was
sure they're in
comparing it
Houston,
to.
Texas too.
I'm sure they are. They're probably made out of boots now. If somebody saw them out there.
The following morning, Elliot feigns illness to stay off school and play with the creature, whom he dubs E.T. Elliot eventually introduces E.T. to his older brother Michael and 5-year-old sister Gertie, 5 years old, Ernie,
5 years.
who agreed to keep E.T. hidden from their hardworking single mother, Mary.
Hold on, we're going to skip over the fact that they went in the shed and looked around and didn't see ET when he was just sitting there, like hiding behind a box or something.
Is he or is he not a master of disguise?
He's
this
a
whole entire
master
movie?
of disguise.
Okay.
I mean, he is a chameleon.
He
I mean,
was
how
a
many
transformer before Transformers were a thing.
I mean, the mom wasn't going to see him,
No, she
especially
didn't
since she
see
didn't
him when she was putting groceries up.
I mean, then he disappeared that one time whenever the mom first opened the door and Elliot couldn't find him. So again, E.T. is a master of disguise.
The scene of her putting the groceries up and him bobbing around, that is another great scene, especially when she smacks him with the door.
Yeah, that's what. Hey, there's the alien here, but I think you've already killed him.
But we do also get the kind of the little backstory here where we get the dinner with the kids and the mom, and you get the whole thing with the dad. And I've heard a theory. What do you think? The theory I've heard about E.T. sort of being the dad. Not like actually the dad, but like the father figure in the movie, kind of replacing what's not there.
To me, there's too much like connection between Elliot and ET for me for it to be the father. You can see where ET's trying to take care of him and all this kind of stuff. But again, the empathy, I think is called, not empathy, but the empath or the connection that they have. It seems more like not twins is the best thing that I can come up with. Just that's kind of the way I see it or the way I feel about it.
Yeah, I didn't really see a father son relationship. I saw more of like a I saw more of like a boy and his dog type of relationship. And I know but it's like it's he's helping him get home or helping him. I don't know. I didn't really see a father son. I saw more of like a best friend type of relationship, more so than I did.
I was waiting for Keys to be revealed as the father, is what I was, until he said that he was he saw ET or saw an extraterrestrial when he was 10 years old. Also, that's kind of what I was thinking at first, but you talk about the one thing that's kind of seen throughout the movie is different. There's different aspects of emotional pain in this movie, and when Elliot told the mom that the dad was in Mexico and she said he doesn't like Mexico, and she just that was her kind of little breakdown right there, and you just see the raw emotions that you will see later even more advanced in this movie, and that's one thing I think that unlike a lot of movies we have done, this movie truly pulls on the heartstrings. And that's just one of those things where you see this is a single mom trying to take care of her kids, and there the dad is off with his new girlfriend or new wife, and living it up while she's sitting there having to take care of the three kids all by herself and not say anything bad about him.
Well,
yeah, that's the. I don't know, and I think that's what makes this movie more for where Spielberg's in there for the parents. I think if you just had this as just as the like Elliot and ET and their relationship, you're looking at more of like just like a kids movie. But I mean, they're kind of throwing something in there for the parents that especially those that have been through that or in that situation, they just can kind of relate to it a little bit more. Because obviously, in a kids movie, they're not going to understand really what's going on or why she's crying or what's happening. But I think that was more thrown in there for the parents than it was anything.
When the children ask about his origins, E.T. displays telekinetic abilities by levitating several balls to represent his planetary system, and later demonstrates other extraordinary abilities by reviving a dead chrysanthemum and instantly healing a cut on Elliot's finger. As Elliot and the creature begin to bond, they start to share thoughts and emotions, the two being simultaneously startled when E.T. accidentally opens an umbrella in a different room.
Man, you killed that chrysanthemum, but diminutive. Diminutive.
I'm semi-literate.
Oh goodness, diminutive. Yeah,
I know my flowers.
He's a gardener. The one thing that, I wish I had forgotten about is the introduction to E.T. and Gertie, and how she's just screaming. That E.T. screamed. That's the first time I think E.T.'s neck goes up. And they're both just. Yeah, they're just both screaming at each other, and even the older brother's trying to hold her mouth down. Just the whole interaction was was very funny part in dealing with that. But then seeing the healing work, and then seeing the telekinetic type of things also, and that's where you start to get this feeling with the Elliot and ET, especially. I mean, when we get to the school part, it'll be funny too. But and then how he just eats and eats and eats and eats and eats. It's unreal. That's probably why he started to die.
That's why I thought it was more of like I guess I viewed E.T. as more of like a teenager type of character rather than I did like a father type of character because of how much he actually ate. I remember being a teenager and being abnormally hungry all the time.
Look, yeah, I imagine wherever he lives, the food is not as good as the junk food that we have here on Earth.
I saw what they were growing. What they were growing in the spaceship. I was like, yum. Can I have some of that?
This is definitely probably the most fun of the movie. Just getting to see all the interactions with ET and getting everything he does. It gets heavy. It gets more heavy-handed later, and where it gets more emotional. But I have a lot of fun in the middle part of this movie.
Yeah.
Well, at school, Elliot becomes intoxicated because at home, E.T. is drinking beer and watching television. Sensing E.T.'s desire to be rescued, Elliot impulsively frees the frogs about to be dissected in his biology class, inspiring the other children to follow his lead, and romantically kisses a girl he likes. E.T. is watching John Wayne kiss Maureen O'Hara in The Quiet Man. Elliot is sent to the principal's office for his disruptive behavior. E.T. was getting that day drunk going.
He
was having a grand old time.
I mean, that was the thing. And Mom just kind of picked it up. I mean, and just kind of smelled it whenever she got the phone call about it. But did y'all ever dissect animals in school?
Yes.
Okay. I didn't know if they did that or didn't do that still because, I didn't mess with sciences.
Fifth grade. I can't remember if we did rats or frogs or both. I remember I don't know if it was me or one of my friends dissected one that was pregnant. That was an experience.
I bet it was. I bet there's some people freaking out then.
I mean, it's not for me. I'm not into the gross stuff like that. Like, my wife likes Grey's Anatomy and she can sit there and watch all the gross stuff they do. She's like, it's not real, it's fake. And I don't care. They make it look real. And it grosses me out.
It could be very realistic.
Yeah, I got no desire for that at all. But
I don't know that we did Eddie Science. I don't ever remember doing it.
I thought somebody did pig fetuses one time. But like I know I did starfish, earthworms, and then frogs. I was like, yay! And I thoroughly enjoyed all three of those things. That's why I hate science to this day.
Yes,
Um,
not for me.
yeah, no, I'm against that. But I like I like how how Elliot spun her around just like John Wayne did, and just he stepped on that one guy's back so he could kiss her because she was so much taller than him.
Well, inspired by Buck Rogers' comic strip depicting the character calling for help with a communication device, E.T. builds a makeshift device to phone home using various parts around the Taylor home. E.T. also learns to speak English and requests the children's help to build the device. They agree to help find the missing components, unaware that agents are covertly searching for the alien. Again, this is another pretty fun part of the movie when you get to E.T. actually being able to speak, which is might have been, tell me, Ernie, as a 8-year-old watching this, were you expecting him to speak?
No, no. Again, because he always made all those grunts and all that kind of stuff, and you weren't expecting him to speak. So I should have figured out that when the speak and say or the speak and spell came out that I should have figured it out. But just the reaction that Gertie had was probably the same reaction I had. Like, and again, and people were printing money then when he could start talking. They're like, oh yeah, now we got it right here. But yeah, I think that was a good part. And the one thing that I think they did a good job of is that they didn't give him the whole entire English language to spit out. It was just words and a little bit of phrases. And instead of just having him, being able to say the Sermon on the Mount or something like that, I thought that was very good just to keep it limited on that.
Okay, here's 2 questions I have, though. First of all, as a 10-year-old, how is he shaking off being intoxicated like that quickly? He handled that like a champ for a 10-year-old, which really makes me question maybe some parenting decisions that are being brought about, which brings to my second question. If you get called to your school because your 10-year-old is drunk, she didn't seem to be that overly concerned about it as they get home. Yeah, or surprised again. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm just, especially, maybe a little bit as I'm watching, but especially now as we're reading through this and talking back, I have really got to start questioning the parenting skills of Mary here. I understand she's a single mother, but...
Well, she's a single mom who works 2 jobs, who loves her kids.
Well, I mean, don't forget, at the very beginning of the movie, when Michael and all his friends were over, she had a satin or silk robe on that she was walking around in, too. And one of the guys was trying to poke her in the butt, too, or the older brother got mad about. So, again, not necessarily the wisest decisions.
It's the 80s, Ernie. Come on now.
100% that is. But I can tell you this. I never saw anybody's mom dressed in a silk robe, and I'm not sure I wanted to either.
She did get mad at them. She's like, "Did I tell y'all could order pizza?"
I thought that was realistic.
That's where she drew the line there at the ordering the pizza.
They paid for it. At least the kids paid for it, though. It's not like they brought her debit card out and was paying for it with it.
Yeah, it was just all cash.
I don't think she had a debit card in 1982.
At least they didn't go get the money out of her purse,
A rich people thing. But the scene where Elliot, the reason I was asking that because I was thinking, he comes home and it's like going upstairs, and it doesn't seem to be an issue that he was drunk at school at 10 years old. But he goes upstairs and goes into Gertie's room. That scene where he whips open that closet door and Elliot is there looking like at somebody's 80-year-old grandma. that I've seen that scene and that picture so many times. It still makes me laugh every time I see it.
Yeah, that scene and the scene where he's hiding amongst all the stuffed animals too, are classic scenes. But yeah, that reveal that Gertie has dressed him up. and it's just it's funny. And again, nobody takes it. ET's the one that takes it off his own head. Nobody else. I mean, Elliot nor Michael take it off ET's head. It was ET that finally slowly took it off his own head.
Yeah.
I didn't realize until later in the. I guess it was this point in the movie that their rooms were conjoined by that closet. Because I was wondering, why does Elliot have so many of these weird looking stuffed animals in his closet?
Oh yeah.
And I was thinking, why do they have such a huge closet? I'm like, good gravy. But then again, the scene when they wrote whenever they're having the bicycle chase scene and they're going through all those construction, I was like, holy cow, the houses that are being built then. Or
for a single mother, they have a very nice house. Now, granted, that could have been the house she got in the divorce.
Yes, she's getting alimony big time and child support.
I was about to say alimony and child support are two very big factors at this point.
While the father's in Mexico, which he hates.
So the father chose the young girl in Mexico and decided to give up his money to the mom and the kids. So he made a choice, and that was the choice he made.
On Halloween, the children disguise E.T. as a ghost, and Elliot sneaks E.T. into the forest where they set up the device to call E.T.'s people. Elliot begs E.T. to stay on Earth with him before falling asleep and waking alone in the forest the next day. Elliot returns home to his worried family while Michael searches for E.T., finding him pale and weakened in a culvert. He takes him home, where Elliot is also growing weaker and reveals the creature to Mary just before government agents invade and quarantine the house. Again, another fun scene, him being under the ghost, and they're kind of walking it through, and he's like, ouch, ouch, and he's trying to fix the knife through the head. That's a lot of fun. But
and take the picture, and he almost falls down too after he almost passes or faints or whatever.
The movie takes a hard 180 though, because at this point it's pretty fun and happy-go-lucky. But when Michael finds him in that culvert looking like he does, it gets real quickly,
because you have one of the highest of high scenes with the Halloween into the bicycle ride with Elliot and E.T. That's
just so iconic.
Yes, that is the oh man, this is a great scene. To now E.T.'s gone, and did Michael? Did he see the chrysanthemum then, or was it later on? No, it was whenever they had ET in the house. They saw the chrysanthemum.
It was later. It was when they were quarantined because he was up like sleeping or laying up in the closet.
Yeah, and so then you had Elliot waking up, not knowing where ET is. ET was, and his mom and them not knowing where he was. And that's one thing that I liked about this too, is we talked about there not being a bad guy, but there's also this, the family, especially the siblings, bond together to try to help E.T. because Michael goes busting out the door when Elliot can't find him to go find E.T. himself, and so that kind of shows that it's not just an Elliot thing with E.T., a relationship there. It was the whole entire siblings that did it. But yeah, when the reveal of him being ashen white, that was hard to look at.
Which, don't get me wrong, I understand that. I do know that it takes a 180, and not really knowing, just watching the movie, to just as a bystander, not really knowing anything, more about the movie, it does really kind of take a hard 180. But you also, I think, looking at it now, of looking at this through the lens of Steven Spielberg writing this movie through his parents' divorce. To him, his parents' marriage was probably fine. It probably didn't make a lot of, he probably didn't see a lot of the issues. And then all of a sudden, his dad leaving, and his dad, hey, your mom and I aren't going to be together anymore. It's kind of a pretty heavy hitting thing to him. And it's all of a sudden it's you're taking, maybe somebody who is his best friend away from him, kind of playing into that whole thing. Like what Suggs was saying earlier, where, E.T. kind of portrays, Elliot's dad in the situation where everything was fine at one point, and then in the next moment, all of a sudden, hey, it's not fine because he's just gone, and he's slowly sinking away until eventually he disappears.
But then that hard hit scene too is whenever Michael gets ET back, and Elliot knows something wrong because there's something wrong with Elliot too. And when the mom finally comes into the bathroom and she sees ET and she goes into mama bear mode, to try to, just get them out of the house and get them away from him, and it was just, but I didn't realize, I know seeing the movie early on, whenever ET got drunk, then Elliot kind of got drunk, but I was just like, oh, okay, that's kind of cool. But you didn't realize how in touch they were with each other until you see ET the way he was, and then it was affecting Elliot too. And that was one of those things again, just kind of a crushing type of thing that you get from this movie. That something that is bringing Elliot so much joy is at this point in time looks like it may be leading to Elliot's death also.
Well, the lead agent Keyes asks for Elliot's help to save E.T., stating that meeting aliens was his childhood dream and he considers E.T.'s arrival a genuine miracle. However, E.T. dies while Elliot rapidly recovers. Left alone to say goodbye, Elliot tells E.T. that he loves him, so E.T.'s heart begins to glow and he is revived and restored to health. E.T. tells Elliot that his people are returning to him. Again, as you mentioned earlier, it is cool that there's not a true villain in the movie. Whereas Dakota said, most of these alien type movies, the government, is, there to try to capture or kill or whatever the alien, but they're generally trying to help and they just want to save ET. So that's cool. But I will. Can someone explain to me exactly how the bond was broken between Elliot and ET?
I don't know.
I didn't understand that.
And my question also is how did the bond get started?
Yeah, that was what my next question was going to be. I don't know really how it began.
Was it just because Elliot was the first one that he set or just
I don't know if maybe it's just their bond was strongest. I guess I can buy into that. If that's the way you want to go. But it was just kind of random. Like he's dying, and then all of a sudden the bond is broken, and he's naturally rapidly healing.
Unless E.T. controlled the bond, and E.T. sacrificed himself by breaking that bond with Elliot and then taking all of what Elliot had onto himself. That's the only thing that I could. And again, that's throwing spaghetti against the wall right there.
Yeah.
But yeah,
it's a kid's movie, so I guess you have to. Yeah. But that's probably if there's a nitpick to the movie, there are little things like that are not completely hashed out.
But it's one of those things where if this wasn't such an emotional scene, then I would definitely be all over it saying this is stupid. That doesn't make sense. But man, just again, when they brought the paddles out in front of Gertie, it just Henry Thomas right here just was absolutely heartbreaking to watch how he was responding to this and the death of ET, or apparent death, which was very funny how he acted in real life to the quote unquote death of ET, but then when ET arises all of a sudden and then he has to start crying for fake, he does a good job of, well, there is a distinct difference in his fake crying and his real emotional heartbreak. And I thought that was kind of a good job too.
As a kid, seeing that scene where ET comes back would have had to have been like one of the best scenes. Like what? I can't remember, exactly how I felt watching that as a kid because I was pretty young when I watched it. But I would have to imagine that would be pretty exciting.
Well, you see the chest light up, but Elliot doesn't see it, and you're like yelling at the screen, "Turn around, turn around, turn around!" And he walks by the chrysanthemums and almost passes those up until he does a double take. And then you're like, yes, he'll finally see it. But I even as I was watching it this time, I was like, what are you doing? Don't walk away. There's that thing's glowing. How can you not see that heart glowing? Which again is another master job of placing an actor in a scene.
Yeah, and which I mentioned this at the beginning of the podcast that I think this really kind of highlights Henry Thomas's acting, even at such a young age, because it really highlights, you know, like his ability there, and like you said, the difference in him actually crying and him, you know, fake crying, you know, and like there was so much that impressed me with him, and this scene specifically, to be able to bring that weight, to be able to even like we mentioned earlier, Drew Barrymore with the Gertie and the way that she was crying in this. The only thing that I was kind of like, this is kind of questionable. Again, going back to parenting decisions, was allowing kids to be in there, you know, while they're trying to revive a friend. I don't know who's going to let their 5-year-old daughter be in the same room while they have an AED out.
And the only thing I can think of is it's just pure chaos at that point in time, anyways, that they didn't have a clue what was going on.
While we're talking about parenting decision, what kind of name is Gertie?
Gertrude.
Gertrude?
Yeah, that's short for Gertrude. So again,
that doesn't help.
No, but I mean, that's probably, I guarantee you, Gertie
Was that a
or
name
Gertrude,
of the 80s?
No,
It
but
is
it's
an
probably,
older name.
It's an older name, so she was probably named after somebody. So again, Gertrude is not an unheard of name. We just haven't heard it because it's like a 40s, 50s name.
It's
And
it's
so,
a boomer. It's a
Yes.
our grandmother's type of name.
Well, Elliot and Michael flee with E.T. on their bikes, flanked by Michael's friends who help them evade the pursuing authorities. Heading towards a roadblock, E.T. levitates the boys to safety and lands them in the forest. E.T.'s ship arrives, and he says goodbye to Michael and Gertie, who gives him the chrysanthemum he previously revived. Elliot tearfully asks E.T. to stay, but E.T. places his glowing finger on Elliot's head and tells him that he will always be there. The children, Mary and Keys, observe as the ship blasts off into space, leaving a rainbow in the sky.
And here's where Michael lives up to his namesake and learns how to drive without ever driving before.
that is something that Jamie Suggs will like that reference. But to go back to the ride that I talked about at Universal Studios, you know, the whole premise of the ride is you're riding on these bikes that are like overlooking as you go through everything in the movies. So it's a cool callback to this scene. But you talk about tugging on the heartstrings, or you know, you said it, but man, the scene where they're saying goodbye to him is tough to watch. I don't see how you can watch this and not even have just like maybe if your eyes have to water a little bit at least.
Yeah, they were able to do it with all three of the kids too, in different forms or different fashions too. Again, really well played out. Great job of not making it truly emotional and not just sappy. Which again, I think some movies have a tendency just to make things sappy. But again, you had built up this relationship with ET and the kids. They were emotionally invested, you know, and you know, I like how ET pointed to Elliot's head of that's where he would be and not his heart. I think that's kind of I like that little nod too.
Yeah, I mean, this whole scene is just kind of hard. Like you said, you get all three of the kids' goodbyes. You get all of this here, and it's just. I think this is what really ties the movie together. You know, because you kind of get this like somewhat happy ending when E.T. comes back to life. And then you're thinking that, oh well, they're going to be friends and they're going to stay together, and then they're going to you know live together happily ever after or whatever. But then you get this second heartbreak where you know he's up here on top of it, and he's like, hey, like I literally just lost you and got you back, and now I'm having to say goodbye to you yet again. And I really like the fact that it wasn't that they were just like, okay, yeah, E.T. can live on Earth now and just spend the rest of his days here with us, but allowing him to be able to, you know, go back into space with, you know, the rest of his people and still have that goodbye with Elliot and all the kids.
And then closing it out with the spaceship closing on E.T.'s glowing chest too, I thought was a good way to end it too. Sounds like R2D2's in the movie.
Oh, sorry, that was my headphones. I was plugging the charger up.
Which we also, since we didn't mention it, we'll mention it now. How that Star Wars, E.T., and Indiana Jones are all in the same universe. Just saying.
Was
Okay.
Indiana Jones mentioned in this?
No, but in Indiana Jones, there's hieroglyphics
It,
that have C-3PO and R2-D2 in them.
it can't. They can't mention Indiana Jones in the movie if it's in the same universe. Dakota, come on.
Excuse me. Sorry.
Think
Indiana Jones. Indiana Jones took place 40 years before this because Indiana Jones caused World War II. Wasn't that what my synopsis was?
That was our synopsis.
Yeah.
Well, go back to Big Bang Theory. That Indiana Jones, and that would it doesn't need Indiana Jones to have that movie because the Nazis still got the Ark, and they still opened it, and they still died. That would have happened even without Indiana Jones.
Yes, we covered that all in our very first
did.
episode.
Well, yes, I know, and I saw the scores too that y'all gave.
If you haven't listened to that, please go and listen to our very first episode. we hit some riveting stuff. But back to ET. Well,
don't we love growth?
We've come a long way since then. That's for sure. But anyways, all right. So that brings us to the end of this movie. Guys, anything to add before we go on?
This was our 5th Spielberg, and then of course we didn't mention John Williams, which is our 8th John Williams movie.
I don't know what else we can say about John Williams at this point.
I'm just mentioning it now. That's
another iconic.
It is. But everything John Williams does is iconic. So at this point,
is there something that John Williams does that isn't iconic? I guess that should be the next question.
We have said about as much about John Williams as I think we can possibly say.
And I like, and then of course I think about all these in terms of which of his scores have I played when I was in band, and of course I played the ET one, and it's, I don't know, I love John Williams. He does an excellent job.
Agreed. All right, so is that it? Ready to move on, Ernie?
Sure.
This is your movie. You got anything special to say?
No, I can't see.
How old was Ryan Ferguson when you showed this movie to her?
The sad thing is, I don't think I did. Just because it was hard. I don't own it, and that means, and I never had I can't remember it being on cable when she was alive. Of course, I didn't have HBO, I didn't have Cinemax or anything like that, or Showtime. And again, streaming wise,
you couldn't go to the Blockbuster.
Again, when did we have time? That's a big difference. She would probably watch it right now, but she would probably get way too emotionally involved with ET. So, I don't know. I may have to tell her to watch this movie.
My parents showed me this. I think about it when I got to the age that I was old enough to watch it. Which, I mean, not that you're, but I guess old enough to understand. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not that it's a bad movie that you have to be a certain age to watch this, but more of you have to be old enough to actually pay attention to what's going on.
Yeah.
No, see, my late wife, the movie that she wanted to show Ryan and showed it all the time was The Sound of Music. And I had to sit through there with gritted teeth to watch it. So that was the kind of the movie that she wanted to show because she loves it. Her mom loved it. Doe deer, female deer. So whatever.
And now it's a special thing for your family. So you have to watch it every year.
Yes, 100%. But I did get her with Goonies. So Ryan and I we got Goonies together. So that's good.
All right, so I guess it's time to move on to our rankings. I made Ernie go up first last week, so Dakota, why don't you go first this week? New house, you kick us off.
Oh, okay, because that's the criteria with this.
There's certain criteria all the time with the way we do things.
No, I would like Suggs mentioned earlier. I watched this kid as a movie. Watched this movie as a kid. Look, it's late, man. I'm tired. But I watched this movie as a kid, and I don't remember being as emotionally involved in this movie as what I am now. I don't remember. I probably was. It probably did pull at my heartstrings when I was, younger. But Man, this movie is kind of a heavy hitting movie to be a kids movie. And I think, like we mentioned throughout this podcast, the actors did a great job in it. The film score is great in it. The way that Spielberg filmed this movie was awesome. It just all around it's just really well done. I don't really. Obviously, there's a few like loopholes, but I mean, it's a kids movie. You can really kind of look over that. I really enjoyed it, and I will probably end up watching it again at some point. So I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10.
Yeah, I think the thing that I love, and I mentioned earlier, is just the purity of the movie. Just how much it just, I was reading, there was talks about doing a sequel, and Spielberg said he didn't want to do it because he felt like, especially with the plan that they had, it would take away from the movie's virginity. Now that seems like a weird way to put it, but I understand what he's talking about, and I just don't know if you get these movies anymore, and I think that's unfortunate because I think these movies can really make you feel a lot of different emotions, and I think that's important. It's some of the magic of movies that you get, and I'll always love these type of movies. So I'm going to agree with Dakota. I'm going to give it a 9 as well.
I think you're right. I don't know if a movie like this can be made today because they would focus in on, you know, all the bad things that the mother did and all these things. And I don't. And this is where cell phones, I think, kill types of movies because, one, kids aren't going to be outside wandering around because they don't. They're always on their phone. How many pictures of ET would already been sent across the internet? And so that's to be able to make this movie, you would have to set it in the 80s. But again, the innocence, like you said, Caleb, it makes it such a beautiful movie. The acting from Henry Thomas and Drew Barrymore were just absolutely fantastic, and I like the animatronics of ET and the facial expressions of ET. And it's just it's a timeless story. I'm going to give it a 9.25.
All right, so that's a 9 from me, a 9 from Dakota, and a 9.25 from Ernie. That averages out to a 9.08. Ernie, where does that put us on our rankings?
Tied for sixth with Back to the Future, Halloween, and Tombstone.
For, well, not necessarily for very different movies, because obviously Back to the Future, I think it's kind of almost in the same vein, but Tombstone, a Western, and an horror movie with Halloween. So there you go. So tied for sixth on our list. And if you would like to see that full rankings list, you can go to our website, podpage.com/classic blockbusters. That's podpage.com/classic blockbusters. We have our rankings on there. We have about us. We have our individual picks and scores that we give out, and episodes as well, of course, and plenty of other stuff. Ernie does that, and we appreciate that. You can find us on Facebook, Blockbusters, a classic movie podcast, and you can find us on Twitter or /X at BlockbusterPod1. We're a new episode every Thursday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. We appreciate everybody that's been listening, and it's my pick.
Yep.
This luck. Week, it's been rough because apparently since it's July 31st, as 30th is recording, 31st when this comes out, apparently that's a good time for, as the month is closing to an end, for a bunch of movies to come off streaming. So I've had several that I've looked and I'm like, oh, okay, I might pick that one. And then I go and look and it's like, well, this leaves in 4 days or it leaves in 3 days. So it's been rough. But
now.
Yeah, tomorrow now. So anyways, as I looked at it, I don't think we've done a Patrick Swayze movie. I don't think we've done a Keanu Reeves movie. So might as well just do one together, and we will do Point Break.
Nice.
All right, guys. Anything to add before we finish up?
No. Let's go.
All right. So we appreciate everybody that's been listening. And hey, by the way, if you want to go give us a review, nice 5-star review on any of this stuff, please feel free to do so. Right, Ernie?
Pass it on to your friends also.
And as Ernie will usually say, we will see you at the movies.
Oh, yeah.